Why do you think I'm right?
Okay, we've got 6 o'clock, April 29th, 2025. We'll call to order this negotiations committee meeting between Williston Basin School District Number 7 School Board and Williston Education Association. We can just do a quick roll call, please.
Cindy Glavin,
Jeff Winslow.
Amanda Mull,
Corey Slint.
Seth Thompson, Chris Junt. I'll turn it over to you, Seth.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, good to see everyone. It's a beautiful day out there. Just get back together, make some progress here. Two things. One, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I had a bit of a family emergency, so I don't have the minutes from last meeting. But I do have a question. At the last meeting, I don't think you'd had an opportunity to review the minutes from 4/15. Want to see if there were any issues or concerns or anything there.
I did not see any.
Okay. Good on that. And I'll get the other ones ASAP, so. Well, when we last spoke, we were planning on coming with a financial proposal tonight. I think I'll probably just turn it over to you if you would, Mr. Winslow, and see what we got.
Sure.
This is one.
Okay.
That's year 2.
Yeah.
That's year 1. All right. There's oh, there's year.
I can take those.
This would be year 2. All right. All right. So
It won't affect you.
yep.
I don't read that label, so,
All right, so here's what we're looking at numbers wise. In 25-26, our proposal is no base increase. And then you want to go 6% increase from the previous year's salary in the same column. And that's including in that is the step. So the last step in each column is slightly less than 6%. So our top doesn't change, but the steps down at the bottom, that'd be slightly less than 6% because there's no step for those that are maxed out. So that's what we're looking at for year 1. So that's the step is already factored into that 6% move. And then in year 2, we're looking at a 2% base increase just to try and make sure that the base doesn't run away with the rest of the salary schedule. And then we're looking at a 3% increase from the previous year in that same column. Last step in each column again, slightly less than 3% for those folks that are maxed out. Unless we add cells, there's really nothing we can do with that. So that's basically it in a nutshell. And then with that, for year 1, we're looking at roughly 2.8%.
you're saying, go ahead, 2.8%.
Yeah, would be in the total budget. That would be the budget increase for year 1. And I want to say in year 2, we're looking at like a 1.85% increase.
You say 1.85?
Yeah, that's what we're for year 2.
Now, with this proposal, you also have other economic proposals out there.
Mhm.
What is the status of them?
As far as would we be willing to withdraw some of those or?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to get a picture on total package. what
Sure.
Exactly. Seeking. You know, there's the bed stipend, the counselor stipend.
Right,
the-
and we would be very open and flexible to moving those away. The 183 and the salary are things that are important to our assembly. The other monetary counselor stipend and things like those, certainly willing to negotiate.
Does this take into account the contracted days from 186 to 183? Is that reflected in here?
Yes. I believe so.
Reflected as a decrease in pay or stay the
Nope.
same as,
Just stay the same.
so
So it
it's
isn't-
not reflected.
I don't know how,
It's not showing less days, less pay in the contract. It's specifically as if
Based
you
off-
were
based off-
186.
based off our 24-25 numbers.
But just making sure.
How did you land on 6%?
Well, depending on your echo chamber, as it relates to inflation, we've seen, and the average number folks are using are 6 to 8% inflation. Some of us think it's more than that, but the standard, I guess, across the board is 6 to 8%. So we're trying to get to the bottom end of the inflation to keep up with inflation.
Do you have any of those inflationary numbers or CPI numbers or anything like that?
I can print those off and snag them
Okay.
and show you those.
So it's based on, not putting words in your mouth, but it's based on looking at what, the average, inflation is doing in this region.
Right,
and all
we
of
were,
that.
we were looking at inflation and the numbers that kept coming up were 6 to 8%, inflation.
A question on the cells here, so just looking at. BA1 as an example,
Which year?
year one, that is listed at 50,880.
Mm-hmm. That's showing the 6% increase from 48,000 to 58,880.
Okay. And now year two. BA1 is at 49,440, which is less than year one. Not
Right, so you're looking at year two?
Yes.
Yeah, so I accidentally put another cell in there, so it should be. Yeah. But it should have been like the 52,406 with the 3%. Yeah, that's what I was. We were going over that in the back, and we noticed that.
Could we get this, emailed to us in the spreadsheet form?
You want me to email that to you?
Actually, you can email it to, Dr. Jurgensen.
Email. And the mailer as well too.
What is there, do you have a dollar amount on the cost of?
Year one, we're looking at 1.1 million. And so you're looking at 25, 26. 1.09 total. So that's 2.8%. We're looking at year two. Oh, I thought, my fault. I told you the wrong number for year two. I gave you a 1.85. That's not. Right. Should have been 2.8. So it should be 1.1 million. So we're looking at 1,090,000 for year one. We're looking at 1,144,000 year two. So 2.8 and 2.8.
Wait,
2.82% and 2.88%.
Would you mind quickly rereading year one's dollar increase?
Uh,
Would you say I apologize?
yep, you're all right.
1 point,
1,090,872.20.
and year two,
$1,144,444.72.
thank you.
And I would imagine at some point, we'll talk this a few times tonight. I can email that to you, and when my calculator gets here, you might even be able to share that with you, Google, that's got the multipliers and things in there. See if that's possible too.
a little bit earlier when we were asking about, where things stand with the other economic proposals, you'd indicated that, a willingness to move away from some of the others, but it seemed
Sure.
salary and the 183 were something that, if I heard you right, you were saying was very important to your membership.
Yep. I'd say as it stands right now, obviously everything's on the table, but as we progress through the evening, some things are a little more important than other things as we listen to the assembly, and 183 carries a lot of weight with the teachers.
Okay. Have you done any costing on that to see what the value of those 3 days,
Right, so I just can't get, like, I struggled with that, like the cost analysis. I know I've talked with some folks, and it just feels like more or less an arbitrary number, because the bottom line really doesn't change in our opinion as we look at it. I know we want to try to assign value to it. I've heard examples of using the daily rate, multiplying it by 413, running it out by 3 days, and it comes out to 200 grand a day, which comes out to 600,000. Like, I've heard that. And just from a logic standpoint, I'm struggling with the idea that somehow 3 less days is gonna cost us 600,000 more dollars to have 3 less days.
I think what we're saying is there's a value to that.
As far as perception?
No, not
Is it a
perception,
perceptive value?
Work that's getting done, those sorts of things.
But we're not hourly employees, we're salaried. Like, the job is the job is the job. The job's getting done.
Understand, but if we were trying to go to 189 hours, 3 hours to add to it.
In order to save money?
Well, but if we were trying to add 3 hours to it, I think you'd be seeking, some sort of, compensation for that. Going the other direction, taking hours out, but paying the same amount of work has a value. Otherwise, I don't think there's any way around that. My main point was, if you factored any of that in, we don't have to agree.
Sure.
On,
Sure.
there is a value. You may see it differently. I understand that. From our perspective, looking at it, That's.
You're, through the calendar that you're discussing, the 183, you're not looking at student contact days, you're looking at PD days, correct?
Yep.
So those days where you would be brought into the building for professional development. So there is value, I think, in those 3 days to the development of our staff, right? If we take away those 3 days, you don't want to put a monetary value on it, but I do think there would be a value in the educator losing that opportunity.
And I guess then it all just comes back to perception of, more isn't better. Sometimes more is just more. Sometimes being able to take those days, give them back to the staff, just from a mental health and burnout standpoint, we could be getting more from our staff with rest than perhaps the professional development. I see what you're saying. Hey, there's opportunity in professional development. We're saying there could also be an advantage to rest and recuperation as well.
Well, I mean, just the point I want to take away from this, when we're looking, total package and all of that, we, without a doubt, see, the days, there's a value to shifting that. So that's something that we're going to continue to, look at as we're putting things together and responding.
Are there any class A's that are at 183 or classes that you get from across?
From the comps with class A's, a lot of 189s, 186s. Regionally is where we looked at, and again, comps being comps. We all want to just look at comps that benefit. I guess our ultimate goal, right? So we comped Minot with what was our number 6 proposal? The voice and choice. But that didn't seem to line up yet. So I mean, but we have the days right here. Do we have multiple copies that we could share with them?
Yeah, we did send that and,
Did we email that to them?
yeah,
Okay,
like a mile ago.
here's what we're looking
The
at.
days?
Yeah, I was,
Minot,
I mean, I sent it.
185, and if we can get.
We could get
copies
them.
and get these.
It was
to you?
like-
Okay.
Our first meeting.
Yeah,
our first-
Minot 185, Bismarck 187, Mandan 186, Dickinson 185, Jamestown 184, Devils Lake 184, Divide County 183, Ray 182, Tioga 183, Trenton 182 at 5 days a week, 166 at 4 days a week. And then no data for Fargo is a 190 almost. I was just looking at theirs the other day and it said 189 on their contracts. But yeah, and we can pull that from the CAT. I don't think that's, we've got the contract analysis that we can be able to pull all that from any school in the state.
So. Anything else in particular you want us to? Anything else in particular you want us to consider or know, factored into your salary proposal or anything?
Not that I think of. Pretty straightforward. I know that when talking with other folks up at the district office, they saw 6%, but I wanted to remind it's not 6% and a step. The step is built into that. If that makes any sense.
I think I see what you're saying. There's already a factor for moving.
Correct. And we built that into that percent. I'm just curious what Fargo's, I noticed that 190, but I was just curious what their 5 PD holidays, what exactly that.
Contract is on their website.
So I'll pull that, take a look at that.
Well, I think maybe we should go caucus and we'll take a look at this, but if you, maybe you already have, if you would send the current version.
I'll get that and see if we can
Thank you.
try and send that with the multipliers too.
Report on 652.
That's what I was, I didn't know.
Yeah. All right, so we are back on 652. Has an opportunity to look at your proposal, have some more discussions on that. A little bit of, analysis. One thing I would note is, during the kind of the presentation on your proposal, we talked about some different inflationary numbers and all of that. I verified again, 2023 was, or excuse me, 2024 was a 2.9% inflation for the year. And so far for 2025, we've got 3 months worth of data. January was at 3%. February was 2.8, March was 2.4, April will be out May 13th. So the numbers inflation wise are down in that 2 to 3 range. And I think that's representative of what the county just issued for increases recently. I think that they issued 2% increases for inflation cost of living. That's, as we're looking at it, that's kind of how we see it. There were some times back, right around COVID and all of that, where there were some, times where it got high. There's no doubt about that. So we've got a response on wages here. And I should just say, I did not print out our other proposals, but I want to just explain, we're at the same place we were before with our previous proposals and saying no on, your additional ones on those,
The ones that we brought last week that we revised.
well, the USRE, we're. Yep, no on the USRE. What I will say is, when it comes to the pilot committee on proposal 11, that can be done without anything in negotiated agreement. If that's something, work with Dr. Hermanson on that, if that's, I'm talking through different options and all of that to get together to try and work through things, that makes sense. Okay. Two-sided here. So what we have, through your agreement, still staying at the 186 contracted days. Year one, 0.5% increase to the base in all cells plus $500 for steps 12 through 22. Year two, no increase to the base or cells plus $500 to steps 13 through 22. You can kind of see, if you go to the backside, you can kind of see what the schedule looks like then. See kind of where things land. Questions on that? I guess one thing I would add too, I've not had the time to do the math, but I think the salary proposal that you had a little bit ago, I'm not seeing where it's 1.09 million or 1.44. I think it's got to be considerably more than that for what it costs. So if that information is available, we can do the math too, but it'd be interesting to see that. Questions on this?
I would say just maybe, a little bit of the rationale on some of the targeted dollars later on in the schedule. Right now, the matrix is more aggressive on the front end. really about step 0 through 10, 11, and then not quite as aggressive 12 through 22. I know there's been some, talk in previous negotiation cycles, trying to get back to more of a matrix setup. The only way I see that kind of facilitating in the future is targeting some of these cells like we are here in 12 through 22 in year 1, 13 through 22 in year 2, and continuing that type of thought process. That's really the only way I can see that we can get to a matrix at some point in the future. It's by putting some money towards the back end of the matrix rather than just a blanket percentage across all of the cells. You're going to continue to get further down into the matrix where, BA 15 to 16, if nothing happens, it's $500 relative to BA 0 to BA 1, which on average is about close to $3,000 jump.
Well, I'd say we could get the time to talk us here, go back, look this over, talk this through.
Before we go, can I ask a question? I'm going to guess that insurance costs are gonna go up this year for employees. Do we have figures on that? What we're looking at for?
I don't know. We've had discussions on that off the cuff. I can't tell you what they are. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Okay.
I would say, the district has continued to fund a large portion of those increases, and we're not proposing any sort of different percentage in what the district would be paying on the policies. So it's a significant cost increase that the district has historically been picking up. I don't know that it's never went up less than 10%. It seems like every year. So say it's a pretty fair assumption to assume double digits again.
Back there to look this.
Right, we'll go ahead and turn it on. 59. Right, it's 7:44 p.m. Back. All right, so, but you've got some paperwork there.
All right, let's see. Yep. Did we get copies?
Yep.
Okay, so we went back, we reviewed the numbers and did some things, and right now what we think we need to do is let's clear the board first, and then we'll try and process some numbers secondly. So we've got first, we want to throw out package deal number 1, which is board proposal number 10. We'll agree to the language that we've already agreed upon. We'll agree on the internal sub rate that we've discussed as the individual teacher's salary converted to an hourly rate. Formula is right there. Teacher salary divided by number of contract days divided by 725, which we've talked about in the last couple meetings. And then we accept the removal, the subsecretary language that we'll accept that. And then we will reject the proposal to remove section G and to add and to the century code definition.
Made a typo there,
Yep.
so it's just supposed to be,
And
the removal of the century.
and the removal of century code definition if the board agrees to that. WIA agrees to withdraw WIA proposals number 9 and 13. That's so that we can start trying to clear the board, which is our counselor's stipend and the USRE.
10 and 11. That's what you're.
9 and 13. 9 is the counselor's stipend, and then 13 is the
USRE.
So this is an optional, there's 2 different package deals here, is that what?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll certainly take a look at that.
And then our second one is WIA, so we will withdraw their proposals 10 and 11. If the board agrees to withdraw their proposal number 11. We agree to this if the board designates the superintendent to create the special education committee as mentioned. So said Dr. Germson or the superintendent can create that sped caseload committee at any time. If we get the board to hold them to getting that going, then we think that would be appropriate.
Okay. Let me take a look here. You have wage proposal at all?
And then questions. Okay, so just to clarify. So in your proposal, year 1. So in your proposal, year 1, that it's gonna cost the district $618,000 at 0.5%. And year 2 is $500,000. Okay, so we would like to know what the number we're basing this off of is, and that did it include the $3,000 from this year?
I would say the $3,000 that was used as a one-time money during the last negotiations is not something we factored in here. That was, if it was intended to be something to continue or to happen year after year, it would have just been baked into the cake in the schedule. That was one time, I mean, I just went and looked at the minutes of it while we were on caucus. That was one-time money designed to kind of help alleviate as we were coming off some of those inflationary numbers from a couple, years prior to that. So no, we're not factoring in the $3,000. Do not plan to. That's. You had another question in there, Mr. Winslow. I apologize. I don't think it's.
So do we have an exact number that we're
basing this off of? What is the number that we're basing off? Is it 37 million? Is it 39 million? Is it 35 million? For this year, the salaries paid for this year. So the actual number that was used to factor.
Well, what I would say is this is in response to an opening wage proposal. So this isn't the end of the road by any means.
Sure,
You know, it's
just trying to better understand the landscape, I guess, if you will.
okay. You know, we were looking at costs, what we had here. One of the things we were trying to, you know, pin down, I think Mr. Junt talked about it a little bit earlier about how, you know, in seeing some of the separation with parts of the schedule, there's a desire to try and, you know, perhaps whether you use the phrase take care of or, you know, address the 12 or 13 plus, we did that. And, you know, not quite sure what.
I think what we're looking for is, what did it cost the district this year for teacher salary? Just teachers. For this year. Am I correct in that?
Have that, but I don't have it at my grasp right. We
You're
did some,
talking 24, 25, this school year that we're in right now.
Yeah,
we did some analysis, of just making a point on when we're costing proposals out. We did some analysis on the opening wage proposal and that ends up costing $1.7 million for the first year, 2.4 million for the second year. And if you were to add the additional pieces, you know, that are still on the table, the 3 days, the retention bonus, and we had 8, the COVID stipend in 9, and the sped in stipend or money in 10, not factoring in USRE, that adds another 1.03 million to each of those. So on the table, as we said, is 2.73 million for year 1 and 3.43 million for year 2 is the request.
So I guess right now, as it stands, we are gonna reject that. We don't have a counter to that. We did notice that was the 0.5% was at 186 days. We've got a lot of work to do moving forward. But getting down to the nuts of this thing. If we can try to clear the board a little bit, then when we convene, we'll have another salary proposal for you. What do you think?
You can have another one tonight then,
Oh, we don't have that one tonight.
so we won't be seeing any
We do
more
not,
response.
we do not have a number to counter that at this moment.
We would, you know, if there's interest in going a little bit longer, we would be willing to do that.
I'd say not
Not this
tonight.
evening.
Okay. Well, I mean, we're at April 29th and, you know, we're going to be running out of days with this for negotiations, so I think it's important to use that time wisely. We are going to reach agreement tomorrow night with the administrators. And with that, that takes and opens up the next Wednesday for negotiations. So I'd like to see what interest there is in putting on another day. So next week could be a Tuesday, Wednesday. And I realize you maybe have to look at schedules and think about that.
And like we've talked about before, legislature's still not done, so there's still that. We'll do our best to keep working forward, and next time we get together, we'll have a counter to those numbers and go from there.
Okay, I mean, I think we've got a pretty good idea of where, you know, I mean, the legislature is going, and you know, I guess the point I want to say is we do intend to, you know, be wrapping up on or before May 13th with our date there, so we look forward to getting response on this and moving that process along.
Did we have projected enrollment numbers on there for next year?
On here,
Yep, it's based off of RSP numbers.
What's our, our increase? I would imagine we're gonna have an increase in enrollment.
Yeah, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I can get that to you.
If we're graduating, what, 250 and bringing in 400 or so, we're looking at another 1.5.
Yeah, it's an increase. I mean, it's a steady, it's not a huge increase, but they're projecting a steady growth. So, but I can get you those. I just took them off the RSP report.
Next time we get together, we'll have more numbers to talk about.
will you have a salary response ready when we start next time? Is that?
Yep.
We've got a couple of minutes left. Let's take a quick break here. 11:56. I started the recording again. It's 8:01. We're back. Thank you for the response or the package proposal here. We are rejecting both of these. We had came to discuss, economics tonight, and, that we kind of anticipated that was where we were going. And, we're just confirming that at our next meeting, you'll have a economic response to the proposal
To this
right away.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's important that we focus on our time because we are planning to, by May 13th, be done. We will be done.
We think it's important that we get it right.
We do too.
So let's get it right. Because currently we're sitting at, if we were keeping score at home, it's 9-1. And I'd have to ask the question, who are we here for? Did we just show up to agree to a bunch of your things? Or is there going to be some kind of movement towards the things that our assembly feels are important? Because currently the score says otherwise.
Well, I don't know that I agree with the analogy on the score there. There haven't been any takeaways, and there's significant, things that are being requested. We're not saying no to a wage increase by any means. But, we need to go back and forth on that to reach where we're going to be.
You bet.
And, there's only so much time, I guess is the point I would make. So with that, I think it makes sense. You don't have to give us an answer right now. We realize you have to verify, but we think it makes sense next week to use Tuesday and Wednesday.
We'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
So am I hearing that we're not talking about any other proposals other than until economic is settled, we are not gonna look at any?
I guess what I'm saying is we came here to get going down, the economic path, to get that out, to start moving down that. And it's not a good use of our time to then shift back and, address and try and clear the brush and all of that sort of stuff, as Bill was kind of described. There's a lot of pieces left, but the reality of it is, when you look at the proposals that are remaining out there of yours, looking at the money involved with them, number 8, the retention bonus, 9, the counselor stipend, 10, the sped stipend, 11, the sped caseload piece, 12, the 183 days, and 13, the USRE. We've nibbled on a few of those, but there's financial impacts to all of those. So we need to work on the wage.
We brought our proposal, we thought it made sense, you brought your proposal. We don't think it makes sense, that's where we're at, and then when we get back together, we'll try and keep working our way up.
Do that. We want to perhaps let Dr. Jermenson know if next Wednesday works.
Yep, we'll let them know.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. You have a good evening. It is 8:05.